All right. What's going on, people? This is Between the Game Sports back again. And before we get started, for those of you that are on Facebook, I want you to like and share the show, and then like and share the page, and then go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, trying to get those subscribers up, and then hit that bell button to get those notifications every time that we're going live. And with that being said, this time we're out in Stanford, California, home of Stanford University. We have a coach. I believe this is her first year with the program. She's moved from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast, and we have Coach Britney Anderson. Coach, what's going on?
How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Yeah,
Taking it day by day.
yeah. I bet. So, how was the move going from one coast, Blacksburg, Virginia, all the way over to California?
The move was something that I'll never forget,
Uh-huh.
especially during the pandemic. I drove it with my mom and my daughter, and we did it over 5 days. It
Oh my
was a once in a lifetime thing. I've never done it before. When I was younger, we lived in Texas, and we moved
God.
from Texas to Virginia right before I started high school. So I kind of remember that, but this one is a move I will never forget that drive ever. But it went smoothly, and I was safe, and I never, not once, felt like we weren't safe. So blessed
Okay.
in that regard.
Okay. What part of Texas were you in?
I lived in Killeen. My dad was in the military, so I lived in
Uh,
Killeen. And then I lived in DeSoto, and I went to DeSoto West Middle
oh my
School.
God.
Yeah,
This solo
yeah,
area. I have my uncle. I have a cousin who lives in Killeen, and my uncle was out there. I wonder he might have been stationed in Killeen actually. I
at
can't
Fort Hood.
remember. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So that was a little bit about yourself. Let's jump right into it. After that, give us a little more about your background and who is Coach Brittany Anderson.
So I grew up military, like I mentioned. My dad was in the Army for 22 years.
Hmm.
We didn't move as much as most of my military friends, um,
Hmm.
but we probably moved way more than the norm. I grew up, so I said I grew up military. I didn't really start playing basketball seriously until I got cut. I was probably like in the seventh grade and cut, and I really wasn't that good, and that's when I started to take it seriously.
Hmm.
I growing up, I played basketball and volleyball. Um, I I wasn't really big on academics, although my mom was in school to become a professor until I realized how much academics and playing sports in college went hand in hand was when, for myself, it became like way bigger deal as far as like academically. So I went to high school in Richmond, Virginia and Blacksburg, Virginia. I
Hmm.
played at Virginia Tech. I played there from 2003 to 2007. Graduated from college and I got a degree in apparel design and merchandise management. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I thought I wanted to be in fashion, but at that time, the country was going through some like financial things as far as like programs that were offered once you graduated from college weren't being offered anymore. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out what I'm gonna do once I graduate. I coached a middle school boys team my first year out of college.
Hmm.
Enjoyed it, loved it. It was something for fun. And then after that, I coached AAU for 6 summers while I worked up in the Northern Virginia area,
Okay.
outside of Washington, D.C. I coached AAU and just worked for an electrical engineering firm as a recruiter. I did that. And then one of my former coaches, Bobby Kelsey, who played at Stanford, won a national championship, coached me in college. I was like, I don't know what I want to do with the rest of my life. And she was just kind of like, you should think about college coaching. And I was like, yeah, right. No, like, not for me. And she was like, why? I was like, they have no life. It's not fun. Like, you guys are always on the road, you're traveling. And she was like,
Hmm.
that's what makes it fun. And I was like, And so I just finished my fifth year coaching college. I'm sorry, my seventh year coaching college. I was at Virginia Tech for 5 years. Um, and I absolutely love it, enjoy it. I honestly, with myself, am now like, what took me so long to do it? But looking back, I had to grow up and mature, and I had to get myself together in order
Hmm.
to be a coach. So now I'm at Stanford.
Yeah, that is a quite a journey and it's good that you have a coach that saw it in you and gave you an opportunity to get into that. Oh, excuse me. Um, then my next question is um, Stanford University. I know you've only probably been there a couple of months. What is it like out there? What is the campus like?
The campus is absolutely gorgeous. It is. I was at Virginia Tech, like I said, where I played and I went, and the coaching there. Campus is pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Blacksburg is a special place. Stanford is different, so it's kind of a college town. There is kind of like a downtown area, but the campus is absolutely gorgeous. There, it's very spread out. It's very, you see mountains behind campus. You see palm trees. Anything with like palm trees is like my favorite. Like I love palm trees. But it's very spread out, but it's easy to navigate because all the classes, as far as like undergrads, and graduate schools and like the medical hospital, like they're
Mm-hmm.
all in certain areas. So once you get that down, it's easy to navigate. But it's very pretty. Regardless of where you go, you see some type of like mountains back behind campus somewhere. So it's pretty.
Okay. So, oh man, excuse me. Do you guys traveling wise? Do you guys have an airport, or do they have to like fly into LA and then drive there?
There,
Or
San Francisco Airport is about 30 minutes
okay,
north, and then San Jose is about like 25 minutes south. So
okay,
there are two airports. There isn't. It just kind of depends on like where you're trying to get to as far as like price wise and different things as far as that. Like where you're trying to go is kind of based on how people pick which airport they want to fly out of. But it's not like I think LA is like 5.5, 6 hours from here. So yeah, so you don't you don't have to make that
uh,
drive. But there are two airports that are close.
oh my God, that's shit. 5.5 hours in Texas, you might still be in the same city. So it's crazy. That's crazy. My dad said hello. He's on here,
Oh,
and then a good friend of mine who also does the same thing on YouTube. It's called Hope Jordan.
yeah.
Uh, he was talking about responding to your journey, saying that's very impressive. I've been knowing that cat for I want to say since I was 6 or 7, and we're in our late 30s now. So he's always supporting. So if you're watching, man, y'all go check out Hope Jordan. He's on YouTube as well.
I'm gonna have to look at it.
Absolutely. So you spoke on going from Blacksburg, Virginia. That's ACC. That's big time. You played there, and a lot of these people don't probably understand what it took to get there. And then now you're out in California in the Pac-12. Your time there, have you seen any differences? What's the difference between the ACC and the Pac-12?
I've watched a lot of film.
Mm-hmm.
The team has not been here since they left in March.
Okay.
They're working to get them back here to start working out because across the country, different teams are starting to work out even more. Um, ACC, to me, in my opinion, I might in 4 or 5 months have a different opinion. ACC guards are smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Pac-12 guards are bigger. ACC, your fours and fives are kind of a little bit more interchangeable. When you have a five, you kind of have like a true five. The fours and fives in the Pac-12 are much bigger. Um,
Okay.
and so the basketball, I don't want to say the ACC gets up and down more. I don't want to say that. You just have smaller guards who are running more.
Okay.
It's whereas like here you just have the guards are bigger. So like I'm like probably like 5'11", 6 feet, 6 feet. So it's like the guards are probably like my size, whereas like in the ACC, somebody my size would very easily play the four, whereas here they could play the two or the three. So
Oh
position wise,
wow.
it's a little bit different as far as
Yeah.
that. But I think every conference has its I don't want to say staple. I just think like with the ACC and having been a part of it, the guards are smaller, quicker, more a little bit more athletic, but they're just not as big as far as
Hmm.
height.
Okay. So what position did you play?
I played the three and the four. So when I played, we were in the Big East for 1 year, and then
Hmm.
we transitioned to the ACC for 3 years. I was in the ACC for 3 years as a player, and even with that jump, like I noticed a huge difference. So
Okay. So
that's what's changing.
okay. guess I kind of should have asked you this before we got on.
Hmm.
Your rivalry. I want to say probably is Virginia.
UVA, yeah.
Yeah. How was that rivalry? Like, what was it like? Was the
Um,
atmosphere crazy?
It is, it's one of those things. It's kind of funny. UVA is seen as more of like there's a big rivalry between the two schools, but they always
Uh,
had a joke like be if you couldn't get into UVA, you used to go to Virginia Tech because you couldn't get into UVA. So everybody used to say it was harder to get into UVA. I personally don't now. I was recruited by both.
uh,
um, UVA, the prestige of UVA, and I've had a couple friends that have gone there. We're still friends to this day, and we still like say whatever. I think it's just the rivalry. They're 2.5 hours
uh,
apart. For the longest, the football team beat them. I think they beat them like 16 years in a row, something
uh-huh.
crazy.
And they
They,
just beat them this year.
yeah, they beat
Yeah.
them this year. Yeah, they beat them this past year. So that's intense. Honestly, the fans make it way more like intense.
uh,
Whereas, like, if you have friends from like high school or even friends that you met in college, like, but it's they take it serious, like almost so to where like you can wear a Virginia Tech shirt and somebody went to UVA and they're like that shirt is hideous or ugly, and it's just like
uh,
it's a shirt, but that's how it is. It's pretty serious.
yeah, the rivalries are different, man. I played at Stephen F. Austin, small D1 out in Texas, and our rival was Sam Houston. And same thing. It's just it'd be like you see a person with a Sam Houston shirt, like, yeah, and you got into there, like, what are you doing? So
Yeah,
it never goes away, man.
never.
Rivalries are the same all across and just different levels. And you spoke about getting into certain schools, and when I did AAU, and I try to tell kids to make sure they taking care of their grades first, and then
Mhm.
the athletic part will come later. But you've been at Stanford for a little bit, and from what I know of Stanford, it's a
Mhm.
high level academic school. What does it take to be a student athlete at Stanford University?
One of the biggest things I've noticed, probably in the last month or so, as like we've hit recruiting pretty hard, is the level of classes that student athletes who are in high school are willing to take, as far as challenging themselves. So, like the rigor of how many AP courses are you taking? Are you taking honors courses? Are you challenging yourself, and are you making good grades, A's and B's, when you're challenging yourself in
Mhm.
that? But it is one of those things as part of the culture that TAR has built here. And in talking to the current players on our team, like academically, they challenge themselves, and when it comes to on the court, they challenge themselves as well. And it's not very common that it's coming from both ends. And that's nothing against like any other school, because I mean I didn't go to Stanford, and when I look at some of the stuff now, I'm like, oh wow, that's tough.
Mhm.
Just from like that standpoint, these young ladies have challenged themselves in high school as far as what classes they're taking, the grades they've gotten in their classes, and what they're willing to take on. And then they know what they want to be when they grow up. They know when basketball's over, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to run a clinic. They just have some idea of exactly what they want to be, when they grow up. And that's not to say that nobody else does, but they think about it earlier as far as like the classes that they're taking and how they're being challenged in different programs that they're in at their high school.
Okay. Lost my train of thought for a second there. Um, that kind of leads me into my next question. You spoke about being tough and understanding what's going on when you get to Stanford and being knowledgeable, and that equates to having a pretty decent IQ on the basketball court. When you're out and about and you're recruiting, I don't know how recruiting has went for you guys this year, but when you're out and about and you're at games, AAU games, or I think now that they're doing it live stream or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, what are the kind of the intangibles that you're looking for in athletes that you're recruiting?
One of the biggest things is, can you play multiple positions? I
Yeah.
think the women's game is trending towards that faster than what people realize or think. Can you play multiple positions? IQ, I think a lot of times players go to trainers, and it's nothing against trainers, to work on your game, but I think you have to be able to watch the game. So can they see stuff ahead? Are they able to get a pass where it needs to be on time? Are they able to communicate what they're trying to do to their teammates? With the live stream this summer, it's been extremely hard because the cameramen have not been the best. It's a whole other thing. So that's been a that's been a challenge. But past that, I just think it's becoming the trainers, like nothing against trainers at all. It's just that you have to be able to watch the game. And I don't think, I think a lot of times kids look at a lot of like the highlight reels and things of that sort, but they're not really watching the actual, like watching the game, like learning how um, players are getting to a certain point or what led to that play ahead of time. So that's been like a big thing. And just watching like live stream, it's been hard, but just watching how teams play because they haven't been able to practice. So, are you able to communicate with your teammates? Are you able to be coached? Are you able to help your teammates get through a situation or get through something? And that's not. It's I've watched a lot of basketball, and there's sometimes I'm kind of like blown away, like, wait, what? Huh? Like, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, okay. So I go back and forth, but the IQ aspect of it is something that I think we can get better at.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm guilty of being a trainer, but I'm a different type of trainer because I'm able to kind of share a different aspect because I actually did play at a high level, and I get these parents and they ask me these questions to do eight eight series dribble moves, and I'm like, hey man, like you don't have time to do all that at the next level. Like you really don't. You have to be able to three dribbles, get to your spot. If not, swing the ball, don't hold it too long and stuff like that. And they looking at me like, well, that's not what they do in the NBA or the WNBA. I'm like, but you have to get to the next level first
Mhm.
to even have aspirations of even doing the WNBA or the NBA. And I'm just like, man, I'm trying to teach you how to score with the least amount of dribbles as possible because at the end of the day, you have to go back and defend. And just like you spoke, being able to play multiple positions and
Mhm.
being able to defend multiple positions. And that's what um, got me my playing time. I wasn't the greatest offensive player in college, but I went from playing 10 minutes to starting by the time I was done because I could defend multiple positions. But you're right on, man. There's a lot of trainers, and there's a lot of trainers that do good stuff, but there are a lot that just kind of I can't, man. I don't even know what to say about it. So
Yeah.
I totally get where you're coming from. We got um, another comment from my guy, Hope Jargon. He said, having kids to see the game and levels ahead is a very hard thing to teach. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's one of the things my parents used to always tell me. They used to be like, "Well, did you watch the game? Did you watch the game? Did you watch the game?" And I think I'll always remember that it's not. It's one thing to get out there and work on your game,
Mhm.
but watching the game, studying the game, kind of helps you as far as like studying something when it comes to like academically, or if you're trying to learn something. It's hard to teach somebody like what to watch, how to break down film, and things of that sort. Um, but I think it once it becomes a habit, I think it becomes easier for them. If
Mhm.
they can watch the game, if they can see what happened outside of the highlights on Instagram or Sports Center or just different things as far as that. But it's very hard with the things that kids nowadays have access to. If I don't want to do this, I go over here, I go over here, I go over here. But if they're disciplined enough to say, hey, I'm gonna set aside 45 minutes to an hour to watch whatever today, it'll help their game.
No, absolutely. I'm a big fan of watching film, and I I get caught up watching games sometimes, and I'm like rewinding it, like, man, did y'all see what just happened? And people are looking at me like, man, what you talking about? They just scored the ball. I'm like, but you didn't see what it took for them to score the ball. So film, parents and players, if you're listening, please understand how important it is to watch film and then not only watch it but understand what you're watching.
Yes.
So it's and it's crazy going from high school to college, man. It was a totally uh, eye-opening thing, I guess you can say. Let me jump right into my next question. And I know that the country is kind of in a whirlwind right now, and The big thing is getting people out to vote. Um, I've talked to a few coaches. One of my ex coaches at Abilene Christian, and then one of my ex coaches, he's now at um, I'm drawing a blank. He's in the Big Ten. He's at Purdue. I'm sorry. I've
Mhm.
asked them about players voting, and then what are their teams doing to get players to go vote. Are y'all kind of incorporating that thing, getting your players to vote?
We've had our seniors have stepped up and made sure that everybody's registered to vote. I think it is something that needs to be done, that we need to vote. There are a lot of people who, and I think I kind of realized like there are a lot of people who don't, especially in the age range of like you're in college or kind of like around that time,
Mhm.
where they didn't. And I have friends who, when we got out of college, are like, it doesn't really matter. Does it really matter if I vote? So we've had our senior leaders on our team have made sure that everybody on the team um, was registered to vote. We do have some international players on our team, so everybody can't register because they're international. So it's something that's been talked about. And then our strength coach, Ali, is on Coaches for Change. And
Mhm.
he has presented the website to the team. They've talked about it. If anybody had any questions of what they need to do, but absolutely, players need to. I think in the past it's been a thing of like, I can't vote. I have time to vote. I have class. And on top of having class, I have practice because we're in
Yeah,
basketball season. So I think that was a big step as far as like coaches stepping up. And Tara said it herself, our head coach. She's just like, you guys need to go vote. But I think it's something that because attention was brought to it, then changes have been made to make sure that these young athletes can go vote. I think before it was just something that was just kind of like pushed to the wayside because how important is it if it's not talked about? So
okay,
if it's talked about, brings attention to it, and then there's a changes being made. So now our team will vote, and I'm hoping the rest of the players in the country will vote as well because they will have the opportunity to.
absolutely. Take advantage. It was fought for by many people for all races to vote. So everybody should get out and try to vote, and let your voice be heard. Uh, are you? Can you register? I mean, can you vote in California, or are you still registered
I'm
in?
working on that, so I should be able to. I should be able to. Like I did my paperwork as far as that. If I can't, then I'll have to send it in for Virginia. So I'm working on it. It's been like I'm just like what I need to do. So every day
Yeah,
I've been trying to
yeah.
figure out something. So I will vote.
Absolutely. Okay, there you go. I'll be there, man. My mom, she stays on me about it. Are you registered to vote? Yes, yes, mom, I am. So, yeah, the older I get, she still won't let up. But you spoke on women's basketball and kind of having been able to defend multiple positions or play multiple positions. But overall, as you've been doing this for 5 years, you were at another school before Virginia Tech. I can't
I was
remember. You told me.
at I was at
Yeah,
Radford for 2 years, Radford
it was at
University.
Radford. So
Mhm.
you've been at now three different schools. The current state of women's college basketball. You like it where it's at, or you see it, you know, excelling to another level, or what?
I think there's always room to improve in pretty much anything.
Mhm.
There's always room to get better. For me, the state of girls basketball from the grassroots level, I'm 35. The opportunities and how they're presented now to these young girls is way, way, way on a different scale. It's way bigger than what it was when I was their age. I think as social media has grown in a positive way about women's basketball, and then as women's basketball players have gotten notoriety, as girls have been able to compete like on different levels, travel and compete wherever, whether it be make the USA team, leave the country, like I think they're realizing the doors that basketball can open for them, just for them in general, their life. And I like the way it's growing. I like the way it's trending, but there's always room for things to get better. There's always room and areas for things to improve. But I do think that the opportunities to play the AAU teams, like when I was younger, as far as like playing an AAU team, there really weren't that many, and you had to drive pretty far. And we lived in Texas at the time. And then my dad was just like, my parents were like, we're just going to coach a team. We'll just put some people together. And then we'll just play. So it was me and my sister. And then it was the same way when we moved to Virginia. So I like the way that it is growing, but there's room to get better. There's always room to get better. I think one of the reasons why I think there's room to get better. I started coaching AAU because there weren't many people that looked like me coaching girls AAU. That was
Uh-huh.
the reason for doing it. And then as I did that, then I was just like, okay, I need to take it up a level. And that's when Bobby was like, look, somebody needs you. Somebody, you look like somebody. Somebody needs to be able to talk to you. Somebody needs to you to help them make it through, just like she helped me make it through. And she was like my biggest inspiration of why I was getting into college coaching. But I do think like from that aspect, there's more areas for us women who play to give back to the game and be able to give back to the game the best way we know how.
Oh, absolutely. I did boys AAU for the longest when I once I got out of school and I finally moved back home. And my director was, man, come over to the women's side. You're really gonna enjoy it. And I'm just like, oh man, I don't want to be around a lot of women like that. And it's just people cater to the I don't want to say cater, they're more protective of their young ladies. And I'm like, I don't know how to coach girls, man. Like I'm from a family of all boys. Like
Yeah.
so it was my first year coaching AU girls, man, and within a month, and they started bringing stuff out of me that I didn't even know that I had, and so I've been doing that for the last 3 years. Didn't do it this year because of COVID, but you're definitely right about having young ladies seeing more people like you out and about doing AU and stuff like that, and so I commend you for stepping up to do that. Um, AU, like, what was the craziest thing that you experienced while doing that? I mean, I got some wild stories, man. It's just like down here we got Jimmy Hicks. I don't know if you know Jimmy Hicks. He does RCS Sports. He's a big recruiter. I mean, he's a big. They call him the cheat sheet. So he basically does puts out stuff for high school kids in the Houston area and in the greater Houston area. But he's told me some stories about people, and he got a thing where he called people parents PGWs. He call them parents going wild. And
What's his
when I'm
name?
out,
I'm gonna have to connect with him. What's his name?
Jimmy Hicks.
Jimmy Hicks.
Jimmy Hicks called RCS Sports. He has a website, so he's good. But he's a boys guy. He does the girls a little bit, but he's more of a boys guy. Man, he's been doing it for like 20 years. I want to say his first year was when I was in high school, going into my like junior year, I
Uh-huh.
believe. So this is I want to say about 20 years now. So yeah, he's he's a good dude. But common parents going wild. But back to like, some of the craziest things that you experienced with AAU.
Ah, that's a tough one. I don't think I've experienced anything
What?
crazy. No, I've had so a little background, but my dad played at GW, George Washington, and my mom played at
Uh,
Howard. So they played in college.
mhm.
So some of the questions that parents ask, I used to always go back to my parents and be like, "Did y'all ever ask a coach this or about playing time?" They were like, "No, absolutely not." They
Yeah.
they played and they got it. I some people felt like with AAU my first year that because they paid the same as player A paid the same amount as player B, then they should have the same amount of playing time.
Oh no.
And it really wasn't about winning or losing, and I hate losing. So for me, it was like y'all don't want to win, like we're trying to win.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was the playing time thing was one. I didn't have any like crazy stories. I've just have never had that I could think of. I'm gonna have to, but nothing. Now I've seen some stuff to where I was like, oh my goodness.
Uh-huh.
I've seen kids get snatched off a bench. Their parents like, let's go. Like we're leaving right now. Get all your stuff. And the kid's like, what? They're just so confused because the parent is mad, but the kid is okay. So like just from like that standpoint, I've seen parents go after refs and stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I've been
But
there.
not that serious. Like, what are we doing? So I've seen, but nobody ever said anything or did anything towards me. But
Okay.
that I don't know.
You had a I don't even know what to call it. You kind of have a unique situation, I guess you could
Yeah,
say, kind of
very compared to what I
because
see.
most AAU coaches and they've experienced something crazy at one point. But I've had a parent uh, come get that kid off the bench. I work with one of my mentor coaches. He's an assistant coach at Yates High School out here. He called the cops on one of his kids on the bench, and he was like, "Hey, he needs to go. He don't want to listen. He don't want to do right. He got to go sit him with his mama." And the cop came in and escorted him out there. And at the time, I'm like, I was shocked, but I understood that's somebody else's child. Your mom's sitting in the stand. You don't want to do right. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get somebody to come get you, and you go sit. You go sit over there. So, um, you spoke on your parents. Your parents both played basketball in college, and then you played 4 years high level
Mhm.
uh, Division I basketball. And when you're out and about and you're seeing these people and talking to these parents and you're trying to get their kids to come there, what do you think separates you from other coaches across the nation?
One of the things is I've done what your daughter is trying to do. I played in college.
Hmm.
I played 4 years. I went through the fire my freshman year and went through the fire. It's a huge adjustment. It's a bigger adjustment. I don't care 5 star, 4 star, 3 star, how highly
Hmm.
offers you have. Your freshman year in college is hard. So one of the things is like I've been there, I've done that. I can help your daughter get through that. I think my biggest thing that I take pride in is it's bigger than basketball. I
Yeah.
think as women basketball players, we play the game, but the game is a vehicle to get you somewhere. What is it that you want to do? Because the ball stops bouncing way sooner than it does on the boys' side for
Hmm.
men when they go to college. So, okay, where are you trying to get to? How can I help you connect the dots to get there? But I'm always going to be there for them because I know what it feels like firsthand. I know what it feels like. Like, this is hard. I can't make a time. I'm not playing. I'm on the bench. Well, like, what am I doing? Like, did I make a good decision? I've called home and my mom has been like, don't call here until you have a serious problem. Like,
Hmm.
don't call here unless it's something like life or death, but you're going to have to learn. And then that's when I kind of like sucked it up and I was like, I got to get tougher because she's not
Yeah.
trying to talk to me all the time. So just letting them know, like, I'm going to be there for them. They can vent to me. They can talk about whatever, whoever, however. Okay, you ready? You done? Okay, life has to go on. So help pick them up. I think my biggest thing that I take pride in is that there are young ladies I've coached that I still to this day text. They still ask me for advice. They want me to hear them out. I still send them encouraging messages. It's not with me. It's not just, okay, you came here and you played and then that's it. Don't ever talk to me again. I'm going to help you the best way possible. I think the biggest thing is that I've done it. Like, I've done what you want to do. You want to play in college. One of my stories that, people always talk about like the GOAT and things of that sort. In my freshman year, I hadn't played like 5 games. We were in the Big East and we were, it didn't work, but we tried. We were playing UConn with Diana Taurasi. We played Rutgers with UConn Dexter. I
Yeah.
hadn't played. I was just like, I think I was a little starstruck. Our coach was like, okay, we're boxing one. And I was the one that was chasing Diana Taurasi. I was the one that was chasing Cappy around for periods of time. And I hadn't played like 5 games up to that point. But
uh,
it made me stronger. It made me tougher. But it's just one of those things. Like, I see Dinah is like 3 years older than me, and
mhm.
she's playing at the level she's playing now. And I'm like, I could never. But so it's so funny when these kids talk about like the GOAT. I want to be the GOAT, or this person's the GOAT, or that person. I'm like, y'all have no idea.
Yeah.
So
Tarasi is in that conversation, man.
by herself,
She's
and
in
Kathy
that
was something
conversation.
that was good. Yeah, yeah,
She's in that conversation. She's up there with Cooper and and Cheryl Swoops and Cheryl Miller. So, oh
yeah,
my God, boxing one with Tarasi. Oh my God, oh my God. I, it got you on the court. So,
yeah. Like, so I did it. I done it.
yeah,
Like, I put there. So
absolutely, absolutely. And you just spoke about you know you enjoy having your players, ex-players still
Mhm.
communicate with you and things like that. And that's right into my next question. Your biggest joy from coaching? I've asked every coach on this, and every coach has a story. Every coach kind of has a player that they kind of gravitate to. But overall, your players, when they leave you and they're done playing basketball, what is the hope that you have for them that they learn from you?
I think the biggest hope that I have for them is number one, you graduate. And then
Hmm.
you graduate, and after you graduate, you have some type of like plan. This is what I want to do, or I'm going to try this. I think a lot of times when they say, "Hey, I got my life figured out. This is what I want to try. This is what I want to do," doesn't always go how they think or feel it should go. But
Hmm.
encouraging them to be like, "Okay, well, that didn't work out, so maybe this thing will work out for me moving forward." Um, my thing is like you got to graduate. I don't care what you do. As far as getting there, I don't care if you got to crawl there, limp there. You have to graduate. But I also hope that basketball teaches them in college they can do whatever they put their mind to, whatever.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the biggest lessons that I always go back to. I think I will to the day I die. Is that I played college basketball at a high level. It was extremely hard. There was I think every day as a college athlete, every time your coach is like, well, we're doing this today, you're like, how am I gonna make it? And the next day you got something else, you're like, how am I gonna make it? But you made it, and that pushing your body to that level to be able to make it
Hmm.
times for your teammate. There's nothing that I face in life to where I'm like, you know what, I can't overcome this, I can't get through this, I can't get past this. But for me, when the light goes off, and my parents used to always say this, I'm the oldest of three. They used to always be like, all three of you get it differently and you get it on different levels. And I never really understood that. I don't have kids. So I was just, my mom used to say it. I used to be like, what is she talking about? Like, what?
Hmm.
Like, what? But when the light goes off, they get it, whether it be they get on the basketball court, they get it academically, they get as far as the internship, they get as far as like the job, they get it as far as just getting into a major, and then it's like, okay, I'm here. But just when the light bulb goes off, and like you see the college athletes are all different, they all bring something different to the table. And everybody goes to college for different reasons, but their reasons kind of change as they go through their 4 years of why they're there. But when the light bulb goes off, it's like the biggest thing for me is like, okay, here we are, you can do it. But I just want them to know that you can do whatever.
Or
Like
whatever.
four
Yeah.
years, 4 years in college, you can do whatever you say you want to do. Whatever it is, you can do it.
If you make it through college as a student athlete, I believe sincerely that there's nothing that you can accomplish because that to this day that is still the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Yes.
I'm pushing 40 and which whew, uh but that is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, and it's just like I look back and like, dude, I really, really, really decided to do that with my life. And then when I hear players complain, I'm just like, dude, this is what you chose to do. Nobody forced you to do it. Nobody put a gun to your head. This is what you decided to do. And trust me, high school basketball ain't nothing. Ain't nothing on college basketball. At my first practice, man, I was with the all conference. He's an all conference guard. He'd been there 3 years. When I'm telling you, this dude, he was 5 foot nothing. And he was wearing me out. I'm like, what in the world did I get myself into? But and now when I'm having hard days and mentally and stuff like that, getting older, dealing with the fact of getting older, I'm just like, dude, I can do this. So I totally agree with what you're saying. And then when you say when the lights go off, that's behind the reasoning behind the name of my sports company, Between the Game Sports. That once the game is over with, you got to figure out something else to do, or when nobody's watching you, nobody's cheering your name, nobody's got your jersey on. So who are you outside of that? And that's the whole reasoning behind some of the stuff that that I'm doing with this, and that's why I reached out to coaches like you, and let people know who their coaches are outside of the court when they're not yelling
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So I really appreciate you saying that. My next question is Stanford University. You're new there, and I believe they went 27-6 last year.
Yes.
finished third with 27-6. Like what? Who does that? Like that's unbelievable. Oregon. I can't remember the other team. UCLA, maybe. I can't believe. Can't
Mm,
remember. Uh,
okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know Stanford finished third at 27-6. Unbelievable record. NCAA tournament. But overall, as a coaching staff and the team that's coming back and new players that's coming in, what are you the team's goals? National championship, of course.
Win a national championship. Win a national championship is the goal. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people are like, when you left Virginia Tech and you're going to Stanford, like what is the why to leave your alma mater? I think the biggest thing is that Stanford, they're playing for a national championship
Yeah.
every year. They're in the conversation. That's the goal this year. And I think with who we have coming in, the returners that we have, the healthy players that we have, people that are healthy this season, that we're dealing with a little like minor things this past year, I think that's probably um, them coming back is going to be huge. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but winning a national championship, that's the goal.
No, absolutely. Every coach goes into the season expecting to win the national championship. If you're not in it for that, then you shouldn't be in the business. Uh, how many returners do you guys have? How many returning starters? I guess you can say.
Returning starters, we have four.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
four
So,
returning starters,
uh,
man.
our senior post player. Yeah.
Mm, okay.
Four. Mhm.
Parents, all these kids and parents, when my one
Mhm.
kid gets to college, they're going to start. Just kind of break down how hard would it be for an incoming freshman, even a JUCO player,
Mhm.
to break that starting lineup or break that rotation, being a 6 or 7 man.
It's hard. You are walking into a situation, whether you're a freshman or junior college player, you're walking into a situation where you're playing with players who've been there, that know the system, that know what it's supposed to look like. So from that aspect, it makes it hard. Um, it is, if it's one of the things where it's like, okay, there's a senior that's graduating coming in as a freshman and there was nobody backing that person up, and you're just super uber talented, then there's a good possibility to start.
Yeah.
I think as the season goes on, what people don't realize, like just because you're not starting in the beginning or you're not in the rotation in the beginning of the season doesn't mean as the season goes on that doesn't change. You
Yeah.
have things like, I hate to say, you have injuries that happen, which nobody wishes on, but it's part of the game. You have injuries that happen. You have matchups that happen when it comes to different games, and you have different things that you're trying to achieve as a team, like a style of play. And once you pick up on it as a freshman or a junior college player coming in, once you pick up on it and then you roll with it, it all comes to how fast you grasp it, how fast can you regurgitate it, how fast can you roll with it. And I think that there's a little bit of a learning curve
Mhm.
uh, that goes along with having your God-given ability as well. So it just depends on the system you're walking into, the players in front of you. There's a lot of variables. Like my first time as a freshman, and I'm going through summer workouts. This young lady next to me, she's gone through summer workouts twice, and she's already gone through
Mhm.
summer workouts once. So it's just one of those things. Like it's your first time going through summer workouts, so it doesn't always look how it does in the beginning. At the end, as the season goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the learning curve is a big thing. I went through that, and like I said, I wasn't playing. My first game, I played 10 minutes, and then towards the end, I was playing 38, 40 minutes, and I'm like, yo, like I don't want to start anymore. Like I hated starting. I really did. I really did. And but it is what it is. I was a pretty good defender, so I spent a lot of my time running through screens, and I hate it. So I know I got to get you out of here. You say you got something to do, right? And a little bit right after this.
It's
So a
15,
couple more questions. Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said 15 minutes, so I'm
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah. I got you. I got you. Couple of personal questions. Your favorite team and your favorite player to watch.
WNBA, NBA,
It doesn't
or
matter.
college.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I like watching the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
Um, I like Brad Stevens. He's a good coach.
Hell of a
Um,
coach.
I like watching. That's tough. Yeah, I would say I like watching Kennedy Carter. I really do like watching her.
Hmm.
So I've liked watching The Dream. I've liked watching The Sparks. Um, Women's college team, not Stanford. I would have to say that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I like watching South Carolina. They evolved as a team as the year went on. But I've also have always admired what Dawn Staley has done. She's just going from a player to a coach, and how she's kind of taken off. Um, that's a tough one. I've also like watching during these playoffs, Jason Tatum.
That
Um,
kid is, ooh,
he and he's on another level.
he's
Um,
figuring it out. He's definitely
yeah,
figuring.
I'm like, oh, he worked on his game a little bit during the shutdown.
I'm a huge Devin Booker fan, but I don't know which one of those two guys are going to figure it out first. But obviously, Jason Tatum is on a better team right now. But both of those guys, man, just
Yeah,
they
they've
can put the
been
ball
like,
in the basket.
yeah,
Yeah, he's incredible. They're the Kobe guys.
yeah.
So um, my favorite WNBA player still to this day is I'm a huge Sue Bird person.
Um,
I love to watch her play, man. She gets it done. She's not the fastest, but just she's a great guard and gets it done. So
she
she's
does.
always she's always gonna be one of my favorites. Any changes in basketball would you like to see at any level? Let me rephrase that. At any level.
Uh, I don't. I think the game has become a lot softer, just across
Mhm.
the board. I remember me and my teammates were talking about this this um watching Detroit Pistons when we were in college, like just how they played. I just think like basketball as a whole, I don't want to say it's become softer. It's just a lot more fouls being called.
Uh,
The biggest thing I wanted just for the women's game and it happened was can we 4 quarters? Like we're still doing 2 halves. They go play international basketball and the 4 quarters. Like that part, the men's side is still halves. But I just think the game is different when you're playing quarters compared to halves. That was probably the biggest thing where I think it made our game with the women's college game a little bit more exciting because it kind of sped it up some. They changed the foul count, like different things as far as that. But I just think it's there's so many ticky tack fouls that are
yeah,
called.
absolutely.
And I think players have gotten to the point now where they know like if I flop or if I like act like I'm gonna get that call. And it's just like
It's definitely part of the game. Is it?
like it's a little
Yeah.
bit more ticky tack.
Yeah, in my years playing, I never even thought about flopping on even on a back screen when I know I got punished on the back screen, and I'm just like, it is what it is. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
whatever. I totally understand where you're coming from. Uh, One more question, and then I'm gonna do a quick Q&A, rapid fire. What's next for you? I know you're at Stanford right now. You're just getting there, but any future thoughts?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I never thought I'd be coaching college. I never thought I'd go back to my alma mater, and I never thought I'd live in California. So I don't know. I'm kind of like one of those people. I've never been, how some people say 5 years I want this and 10 years I want that. I've never been that person. I've just kind of like prayed about it. Whenever door opens, be ready to walk through it. If it's not the door you feel you're ready for, then just say it's just not that time. I eventually want to be a head coach.
Mhm.
It has to be in a situation where I can be successful. I think sometimes we are given positions and it's like, see, we tried, it didn't work.
Mhm.
And that's not always the best situation for us. I think sometimes it's one of those situations where you have to, number one, be ready for it. And I think if the situation comes along and I'm ready for it, then okay, this is what I'm going to do. But I've also come to be comfortable with the fact that I'm never going to be fully ready for anything. So I don't know. I do want to be a head coach. I do eventually want to. And when the timing is right, then I'll just be ready to walk through the door. But I just never thought. My mom was laughing with me about this the other day. She was like, "You're a college basketball coach." I was like, "I cannot." It's still
Believe it.
It's funny. It's so funny. Never, never thought, never.
It's crazy where life takes you, man. I totally get where you're coming from, and I really hope that you get your opportunity to coach at the next level. I mean, not the next level, but become a head coach, and then maybe you go to the WNBA, and I go like, hey, man, I had her on my show, so I really hope that. And I'm gonna do a couple of rapid fire questions, I guess you can say before you get out of here, and
Okay.
one or two words, and so be your answer. Um, I think you kind of touched on this already. Best player you ever played against?
It's a tie. Diana Taurasi and Cappy Pondexter.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. Tarasi and Pondexter. I know. I know. That's tough. My next question: who do you think will win the NBA championship and the WNBA championship this year?
The Lakers and Seattle.
Seattle. Yeah, the storm is always the storm is always there. I think Sue Bird just got back, so and they were winning games without her. So
Yeah,
mhm.
easily.
Oh my God. And I try to be a Phoenix Mercury friend because Griner, she's from the Houston area and she's in my district that I, went to high school with. But yeah, that damn storm, man. Oh my God.
Different level. Brianna Stewart, they're just different. They're
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. And it's weird because my friend, he's a huge UConn person and he follows Breonna Stewart and Tarasi, and he couldn't believe that uh, Coach Gino had that kind of same level of respect for Stewart and
Mhm.
Tarasi. So and once I kind of study up on him, I'm like, yeah, well, she's right there. So
Yeah, right there.
absolutely. And my last question that I asked every coach that's been on here, we're about the same age. I think I'm maybe 1 or 2 years older. Um, the death of Kobe Bryant, tragic ending to his life, man. What were your thoughts when you first heard about that?
To be honest with you, when I first heard it, we heard it after a game. We had just played Miami at home,
Mhm.
and our video coordinator was like, Kobe died. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, Kobe died. And I was like, what? He was like, Kobe Bryant died. And I was like, all right. And it
Mhm.
didn't register. Um, and the season was going on. So I kind of just was like, all right, you're going day by day by day. Since his quarantine, the more I've seen the impact he's had on people's lives, on with his daughter, with women's basketball, even like girls grassroots level basketball, it's kind of been like he's really gone. And that when his birthday passed, I just kind of was just like, wow. And I think because of my age and how close in age he is to me, although I feel like, oh, he's in his 40s, but he's kind of closer in age than I realized. I think that's when it hit me. But it was just one of those things where it's like gone too soon, but did it really happen? There was days for a while I was like, he's not. Like there's no way. But for him to be gone with his daughter was kind of like she was to be so young, where they were headed, to basketball tournament, like just that whole thing there is just kind of like it's still I still sometimes I'm like he's not like no.
Yeah, unbelievable. I still have damn Kobe moments like all the time, like crazy. And with Chadwick, Black Panther guy, he passed, and that brought me right back to the whole situation. I'm just like, no way, man. Like, so
Yeah,
I totally get where you're coming from, and everybody that's still tuned in, man, y'all follow Coach Brittany on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Instagram, but her
same
Twitter,
name, Instagram.
you're on Instagram,
Same name.
same
Uh-huh.
handle. So she's on there, man, and follow her on Twitter, all the media platforms, and I definitely appreciate her, you for coming on. And like I tell everybody all the time, man, time is something that you can't get back. So for those who give you their time, man, you really appreciate it. And so I definitely thank you for coming on. I know you got to get to some business, so I'm gonna let you go. But if you got anything else to say, now's the time.
Thank you for having me. I've really appreciated it. I had to do something to my hair, so you kind of like pushed me to like get myself together. Because I wasn't really doing just laying around and doing work and watching stuff. But yes, if you reach out to me, Twitter or on Instagram, have questions about pretty much anything, I'm here, willing to help. We've all come from somewhere. Somebody helped us along the way. I'm willing to help whoever who needs help with pretty much anything. But I'm really appreciative of this moment. And if you need me to be on anything else or help with anything, just text me or send me an email or whatever.
Okay, got it. Well, you guys definitely gained a fan because I got to start cheering for Stanford now. So
Yeah, thank you.
it's hard. It's hard to cheer for schools outside of Texas. So, but you got a fan now. I really appreciate your time. So, with that
Thank
being said, we're
you.
out of here.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Later, Coach.